Hi guys, and welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to be making a super simple and super yummy New York style crumb cake. Who doesn't love crumb cake? But instead of regular flour, we're going to substitute with our Bella's Gluten Free Flour Blend we now sell on our website. It's such a great substitution. It's 1-to-1, so whatever you would put in a recipe for a baked good in regular wheat flour, you can substitute and make a yummy gluten-free version. So right here is our gluten-free flour for this particular recipe. In total, we're going to need 4 cups of flour. We have 1 egg with 2 tablespoons of canola oil and 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract. In here we have baking powder and sea salt. We have 2.5 teaspoons of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt. I like to use sea salt when I bake. We have 1/2 cup of sugar and 1/2 cup of milk. And here, this is 2% low-fat milk. Anything that you have in your refrigerator is fine. So we're gonna make the base of the cake layer right now. And we need 1.5 cups of flour in order to do that. So I'm just gonna measure out my flour. And you don't pack it into the cup. You want it nice and light, just like you would with all-purpose. And level it off with the knife. Just make sure the cup is completely full. Shake it a little bit and then just run your knife over it. So that's 1.5 cups. To that, we're gonna add the sugar and we're gonna add the baking powder and the salt. And what I like to do is I like to whisk it all together to make sure it's fully incorporated. And that looks good. We're just gonna use a standard hand mixer. You could also do this by hand, but this makes it just a little bit quicker and a little bit easier. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour in my wet ingredients. There's the milk and the egg, vanilla, and oil. And with the hand mixer, you're just gonna blend it on just speed 1. And I already have the oven heating to 350 degrees, or if you have a convection oven like I do, I have mine heating to 325 degrees. And then you just kick it up a notch. And you don't wanna overmix. This isn't regular wheat flour, but you don't always ever want to overmix a product that you're making or a baked good. Just make sure it's fully incorporated. I'm getting a little bit of air into this. Okay. So that's how simple the base is. So I'm going to grab my 13 by 9 that I've already prepared with a little bit of spray. And we're going to go ahead and put the base down. It's not a lot of batter, but trust me, it will grow and it'll be perfect. You just want to make sure you scoop out every little bit you can because it's not a lot of batter. Okay. That should do it. And then you're going to go ahead and spread it in the pan nice and even. The next step we're going to do is make the crumbs that go on top. And that's it. It can be a little sticky, and that's just because of the sugar. Okay? And that's good enough because we're going to pat it down with our hands in a little bit. So I'm going to leave that there. I'm actually going to use the same bowl. It's nice and simple, so you don't have to wash too many things when you're done. And to this bowl, I'm going to go ahead and add my crumb topping ingredients. The rest of the 4 cups of flour is going to go back in this bowl. So we're going to measure that out. So it's going to be 2.5 cups of flour. And then we're going to blend in 1 cup of packed brown sugar. And you can use light or dark, it really doesn't matter. And you're going to do also a teaspoon and a half of cinnamon. And I like to whisk this together just like I did with the dry ingredients for the batter. Just so it blends nice and the cinnamon gets spread throughout the flour and the sugar. And I like to keep my whisk dry just so then I don't have to clean it up. Okay, and to this I have already gone ahead and melted 1 cup of butter and cooled it slightly. 1 cup is equal to 2 sticks. And I'm just gonna put it right inside of here. And I'm just gonna use the spatula that I did with the cake and get out the rest of the butter. And we're just gonna stir this together until crumbs form. So it's super simple and doesn't take a lot of effort. And I like to do this part by hand. And you can also use your mixer and that would be fine too. Again, you don't need to overwork the crumbs. You just wanna make them come together until they start sticking and forming large chunks. Coming from New York and also living in an Italian household, it seemed like my grandmother always had coffee cake. Sometimes it was in a blue and white box. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. But this you can make on your own and it's super simple. So you see how the crumbs are coming together? This is exactly the consistency we want. And the little trick that I do is I use my hands to make them stick together. And some people like them big or some people like them fine. And you can do it either way. So then we're gonna get our batter and clean off the side just so the dough gets down there. And then we take our crumbs and we squeeze them together. And you can make big chunks or little chunks. I happen to like a lot of crumbs. And you're just going to go ahead and spread it. I also, another variation that I love to make is put a layer of blueberries on underneath the crumbs. And that always, or you can do any berry at all, or any kind of fruit that you have on hand or in your freezer. Okay. So we're going to take the last of the crumbs and we're going to evenly spread them out. And then with these little pieces, the little fine crumbs, we can go ahead and fill in all the empty spots. And then spread it to make it look nice. And then we're going to pop this in the oven. And within 20 minutes or so, it should be all set. Okay. So here it is out of the oven, New York style crumb cake, gluten free. Remember, Bella's baking mix is on our website and it's a 26-ounce bag. So it's about 6.5 cups. And for this recipe, we needed 4 cups and I'll post that on our website as well, just so you have the recipe. So I went ahead and did a little bit of confectioner sugar on top, just to make it look pretty. And it's still warm. I'm gonna go and cut it to show you what it looks like. Just like a regular coffee cake. And it tastes awesome too. Thanks guys, thanks for joining me.